All right, so this is an interesting one. So I think True Alpha generation stands in finding value, and I think there's a lot that's mistranslated across the East and West, and one of those things being proper fundamentals. So I think this is in a situation where, I don't know how many of you, there's about, a few of you here, how many are investors, builders, et cetera. I would say finding true value in a tokenized crypto project is far and few between. And for us at Neoclassic, when we met Ryo quite a while ago, we continue to monitor the growth and thought that there is substantial evidence of fundamental value accruing to the Oasys L1. And this is one of those situations where you have an asset that doesn't reflect the fundamentals. So I view Oasys, and this is OAS ticker, not the Coinbase listed Oasys, that's Rose, as one of the most undervalued assets in all of crypto. It's available, has been liquid for a period of time, and I think it's only a matter of time before the fundamentals bridge this asset into the top 100, certainly amongst the top gaming based assets. And so I think the goal of this fireside conversation is to give Ryo a platform to talk a little bit about the fundamental growth of the developers, the titles of the games being launched on the L1, the purpose-built nature of Oasys for complex, high-quality gaming, and then just flowing down the stack to being able to do simple click-to-earn. And then ultimately, what works in crypto is capital markets, particularly when you have a liquid asset. What's the game plan for the capital market side? As broader market depth helps an asset, helps it, both from a custody and ownership standpoint. So I think we could start with a quick background on, what is Oasys? That's a very, very easy one. And where do you stand today in terms of your progress?
Okay, so the Oasys is a gaming dedicated layer 1 chain project. And so we started 3 years ago. Then, so Oasys in the past is, blockchain game publisher who published some My Crypto Heroes 6 years ago. Then, so we were the top dApp, before DeFi summer. Yeah, actually. Then the blockchain publisher involved the gaming industry. So if we involve the gaming giants like Ubisoft, Sega, Bandai Namco, Square Enix, Nexon, as an initial validator. So it's a gaming layer 1 chain backed by gaming industry.
Exactly. Okay. So I guess just to touch on that. So Oasys really was the brainchild of what I like to refer to as the gaming mafia in Japan, and some of the largest gaming companies in the world have originated in Japan and distributed billions of dollars of IP and games throughout the world. And I think Oasys began with that notion and has sort of fulfilled its duties. I mean, you have surrounded yourself with those top traditional Web2 gaming companies. They operate as validators. They operate as collaborators. I think maybe we can talk a bit about, for example, some of the games that you've sort of targeted first, or the partners you targeted first, and why you targeted them, and how they interact with Oasys.
So originally, we are from the gaming industry, not from the crypto originally. But then looking at the crypto space, a lot of layer 1 project was taking the synergy, the benefit. Then back in 2 or 3 years ago, then after Axie came, so a lot of the gaming, the company industry guys had a strong interest in the Web3 space, but unless doing involving them as a layer 1, so we thought they don't come to this space. That's the reason why we try to involve them, and fortunately, some shareholder of the sister company, Double Jump Tokyo, was Sega and Bandai and those guys. So then we involved them, So we started to involve the two giants, Bandai and Sega. Then the president of Sega supported us from the beginning. So that was just the original story.
Yep. And then I know, you just had a large infusion from SBI. SBI is one of the largest financial conglomerates in Japan. What's the thesis behind that partnership?
So while we operating the Oasys project. So of course the content distribution is very important, but as this, that bridge, event is, going very well. So the financial aspect of the project is also important. So SBI is, one of the largest conglomerate in Japan. So they have wallets, they have NFT marketplace, they have liquidity provider like a B2C too. So they have everything. So then also they have huge venture arm. So comprehensively they can support us. So that's the reason.
And the title, creative hat tip to you, the gaming oasis becomes a reality. I think for a lot of folks, there's an enormous amount of games launching in crypto on a regular basis. Talk a bit about the games that have launched on Oasys, the user base that it's garnered, and then if you flow down the stack to what has garnered a lot of attention, which are these click-to-play games on Telegram, whether it be Hamster Combat or whatever it might be. Are there plans to roll down the stack into more simplified gaming from the more complex AAA games that you've seen to date?
So we assuming there's two ways to climb the mountain. So we're supporting both of them actually. But our first priority was supporting the Web2 giants first. Then so we have onboarded the Ubisoft last week. Then also we're gonna have a first Sega's blockchain game title next year. So then we realized that the integration, the Web3 element, especially for the in-game marketplace, exchange of the gaming items, increased the payment rate of the users. So that became 3 times than pure Web2 user after they touched the marketplace in the game. So that is really beneficial for existing gaming industry too. Then the other side is, as you mentioned, it's like a hamster combat and a cat is in. So they successfully involve the user from emerging markets like India, Africa, Middle East. So that's a new frontier for gaming industry. So that's the to be honest, that's our next challenging the area. So we never touched it because it's not sustainable yet. We try to make that sustainable next year. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so basically the idea of this in-game marketplace is it's an easy sell for large gaming companies. It triples the ARPU of a user. Okay, let's talk a bit about I think what's always on most people's minds, token price. And so, if I think about the titles listed on Oasys, if I think about the users on Oasys, if I think about the maturity and depth of what Oasys is, it should be trading in line with the tier 1 peers in the gaming space, which is roughly a 30x. So, to me, I think that's something that I try to pair off. And I think ultimately, given the focus on you now getting your message out, finding ways to integrate usage and utility for the token, and then ultimately the idea of capital markets, which we'll tap into, will I think very easily catapult Oasys into a higher degree amongst crypto assets. So, what do you think is the biggest inhibitor of growth in the token value, and what do you think is the biggest opportunity?
So we have in Japan. So we have we had lots of challenges made by the successful game makers in Japan. So then ultimately we found one successful model that so we can utilize the Web3 element as increase element of the ARPU. So we will try to adapt that into the existing gaming space. Then so nobody in the West doesn't know about it, what's happening there. So the next challenge is we need to tell this story to the Western investor. So what's happening in the Japan, at the East. So learning from these 2 years, token, and also the chain operation, yeah, IR is very important, investor relationship. Yeah, maybe yeah, that's the reason why I'm here right now. So from Japan, and also the first priority is, of course, making the fundamental. The second priority is, conveys these facts. A lot of users are onboarding to, Oasis and Web3. Then third priority is, financial aspect. So using more DEXs, or, making arbitrage between CX and, DEXs, like that. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
So creating a flywheel of token value with, that aligns with your growth in users, I think is the key. So there's institutional ownership, and then there's, retail or user ownership of the asset, and how do you incentivize them to go out and do so, and then also to make it easier for them to access the asset by integrating with DEXs and maybe a particular set of centralized exchanges, and integrating market making alongside that. And that, I think, so when you think about the world of gaming, the success cases were of the last cycle were things like Axie Infinity, where you had, a substantial user base. It was the first real breakthrough game in defining the play-to-earn category. You had other things like the gaming guilds, so YGG, which again just garnered this sort of viral flow of the native asset of those projects. And so do you see it being a combination of institutional holders and then a virality that exists in a singular game on Oasys that you can then sort of draw the consumer or retail user from? Or is it the sum of the parts, right? So, over the next, and how many titles do we have listed on or launched on Oasys to date?
It's about 40 games,
40 games.
Yeah.
And what does the forward of launches look like the next 12 months?
Next 4 months, maybe at least around 10.
Okay,
Yeah.
another 10. So you're, another 20% on top of that. And I think, do you think that there's a linear scale of ownership and growth in the token, or do you think there at some point creates some sort of J curve in terms
J-curve, because most of the title we have, onboarded is a migration from the other chains. Then from this year, we started onboarding our, the exclusive, the key title, or from this fall, yeah. Then we're gonna have a J curve.
Can you share any key titles?
The one interesting, the title is Last Memory, was launched from Anish. They're also listed in the Tokyo Stock Exchange. And also, second title is, of course, Ubisoft first blockchain game title, which is called Champions Tactics. Then third one is Sega's first blockchain game, which is called Battle of Three Kingdoms. Yeah, that's the key title of us.
Okay, so three of the largest gaming companies in the world are launching titles on Oasys this year. And again, this is why these are interesting conversations, because these are messages that get trapped, I think, within a region. And so I think a lot of what Steve and I try to do at Neoclassic is find, true fundamental growth and expand that message so that people can understand exactly what's happening. And so there's all of this happening, under Oasys or within Oasys, with that message just now starting to proliferate outwards into the States. You've now been spending more time in the US. What do you think is the biggest difference? This is kind of off script. What do you think is the biggest difference between now that you spend some time in the States versus your time spent in Japan and Asia more broadly?
Especially in Japan, everybody's talking about how to adapt crypto into everyday life. Yeah. So and in the U.S., especially in New York, and everybody's just discussing about the token price. Yeah, that's the big difference. Yeah, in other places in Asia, like Singapore or Hong Kong, in a Chinese-speaking area, everybody it's talking about what's the narratives, the opportunity to take a benefit. How can I say take a capital gain? Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we have a number of gaming projects in the U.S. that have substantially less maturity in terms of the growth of their titles, the quality of their technology, and they trade at, again, these substantial multiples to names like Oasys. And I think again, it's being able to identify value, locked value, that ultimately will be forced to be unlocked once, Sega, Ubisoft, these major gaming companies launch truly, viral games that are adopted by millions of users. And I think, people drop millions of users frequently. I'm saying that very, very definitively and very purposefully because you've been in the gaming space for how long?
It's been 6 years.
6 years in crypto gaming.
In crypto gaming, yeah.
And then broadly?
Probably 8 years.
8 years. Okay, so 8 years of gaming. You understand what it looks like for a game to garner millions of users, right? And do you think the crypto industry is doing a good job of creating that effect, or you think that's something that it requires the level of partnership you have with the likes of Ubisoft and Sony and Sega and others?
At this moment, we found the opportunity for the future growth because in this one decades, from 2010 to 2020, the market size of the mobile gaming market became same size of the existing gaming market, including PC and the console. That means new industry became the same size of the existing gaming industry. Then back in 2 years ago, Axie Infinity made the same amount of the sales with largest hit title of the mobile game. So that means we have a potential. The Web3 gaming industry size will be same size of the existing gaming industry. So existing gaming industry size is 20 trillion yen. So we have a potential. We create another one more 20 trillion yen, and so that's how much is it in I don't know, in US dollar? 20 trillion yen is.
You got me.
Yeah.
A substantial amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, and then I guess from what you've seen in Web3 gaming or crypto gaming, the user base, I find it interesting that many gaming companies that we speak with are surprised by where their users come from, which demographic, which geography. Do you see a substantial difference in your traditional gaming versus crypto gaming? Also, do you think those users are the ones that will buy and hold and use your asset? Or do you think that's a different audience altogether?
So about the geographic, about the matters. So traditional gaming industry was not targeting the emerging market because its ARPU is extremely low. For example, India, their ARPU is 30 cents. It's really low. So it's cheaper than server maintenance fee. So it doesn't make sense to keep the business actually. But we found that with the Catizen, so we found that also in emerging market like in Nigeria, India, Iran, so they also pay a little bit. Yeah. So I think that will be the next frontier. Try to onboard tons of users and make them to pay. But even with the Catizen, soon after the listing and airdrop, users are gone. So it's a payment for airdrop. So we need to make them sustainable. So that means our next challenge is how to make the micropayment in the emerging countries.
All right, this is another one kind of off the run, but as a founder of a project that has substantially built out the bulk of their tech, and it's operating quite well, you're getting the largest gaming companies in the world to develop on Oasys. You also have a listed asset, OAS. How much of your time do you currently spend on the technology side and business development side versus the business development side of the asset? So the business versus the asset, and what do you think the appropriate time to spend? And then also, do you find, what is the flywheel of value? So do you spend more time now on the asset itself because you know that that creates a flywheel effect for users and onboarding, or do you think it's the other way around?
It's a really tough question because so we had too much, our focus on business side to onboard a lot of user. We onboarded Sega, Ubisoft, other gaming companies.
How many users?
They haven't disclosed yet.
No?
So I'll ask them to disclose.
Sure.
Yeah, because they're a public company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, but yeah, looking at other gaming infrastructure companies starting from so they focus on, they did really good, well about token marketing. So as a flywheel, yeah, we should have, focus on the token marketing first. Then after that, we should show an actual number of the user. That will be their good approach. So now we are focusing on, or token marketing too. But ultimately, we should focus on real business side, so more than the asset side. Yeah. But other, how can I say, trigger or 90% focusing on the asset side initially is very good approach, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's what you said earlier is build the foundational technology, build the business, then make sure you can accrue value to the token, and then go out and continue to build. I think as an investor, I do think that there is value of token does not always reflect value of business. And I think when you can find a business that is incredibly undervalued relative to its peers on a token basis, that has substantially more development on a business basis, that to me represents excellent relative value. And so now that you're spending, this is sort of your first endeavor to really talk about the asset versus the business. We'll talk about both, but I think ultimately for you, that there is value in spending time there, and whether it's both with the institutional investment community, key players like market makers and exchanges, those are all important conversations. I guess just to bring it back around to the, so we'll stop talking token for a second. To bring it back to the title, from east to west, what do you think? Obviously, Japan has had enormous success in the world of gaming. Between Sega, Sony, Nintendo, right? I mean, these are all massive businesses that have done extremely well exporting their games to the U.S. and the rest of the world. What do you think is the biggest inhibitor to exporting Web3 gaming and all that you've amassed at Oasys into the large user base of the U.S.?
I think the key point, success, successful point of Japanese products is uniqueness plus craziest quality. When we try to imitate Western products, we don't make any success. So if we create the things we really think that is really good, then that makes success when we bring it to the rest of the world. So the why we make this that Japanese product make success is it's totally different from the West. Yeah. So the uniqueness plus the kind of craziest high quality, which it's also successful in Japan. It's very important. Yeah. Then about the Web 2.5 approach we took. So maybe we will try to how can I say sharpen the quality of the products. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you often talk about Web 2.5, and I think part of that is requirement to say that in traditional Japanese gaming meetings. You say Web 3, they sort of push back a bit. You say Web 2.5, they think, okay, there's something here that we're familiar with that we can now engage with you on. So do you think you have a few titles launching, 10 titles, for example, in the next 12 months, 3 of them from 3 of the largest gaming companies in the world? What is the key to success for those three games? How do they become, whether it be an Axie Infinity or a Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah, it's very simple. Around the beginning of the next year, so we will onboard the Sega's first blockchain game, which is called the Battle of the Three Kingdoms. Whether that game success or not is a key point. If that's success, most of the major gaming company will follow, including American one. I think I don't know Blizzard, Take-Two, Square, and also the Japanese Square Enix, Bandai. Everyone follows. Yeah, I think that will be the next key point. Absolutely.
Okay, so the gaming mafia has their eyes on Sega's launch in Q1 of next year.
Yeah.
And that ultimately would be a massive catalyst. I mean, another big launch recently was the success of Gunzilla, which showed that there is demand for Web3 gaming. And again, it's kind of Web 2.5, where it's isolated instances of on-chain gaming and not necessarily on-chain play. Yeah. So this Sega launch in 1Q could be...
1Q or end of this year. This is still flexible, though.
Don't give out proper timing. We're not going to hold anyone to this. But effectively, that is something that people can and should look towards as a massive catalyst for on-chain gaming.
Sure.
Got it. And I suppose, why do these gaming companies choose Oasys?
As we are gaming mafia too. So as one of our co-founder is also the co-founder, the founding partner of the Dreamcast in Sega before, and also one of our co-founder also produced the first Dragon Ball MMORPG game. So we have really long time in relationship with in gaming industry. That's the reason. Yeah.
Great. Anything else that you think is worth touching on while we have an audience here? I think, again, it's environments like this historically that, if you're sitting in the audience, I've found that kind of diamond in the rough in the market where it's a business, a founder, somebody that is just starting to explore the outer bounds of their niche. And you have been, neck deep in gaming and ensuring that Oasys has been a success foundationally, fundamentally. And now you're starting to think about, okay, how do I bring this message to the world? How do I ensure that people recognize the value in the Oasys token? And I think you've got a very, very clear case. Is there anything else that that we might be missing thus far from the conversation that is something that you want to leave to the audience with our last, call it 2 minutes?
So we started the Oasys and the blockchain game business to make their gaming industry to bring the gaming industry to another space, to find a new frontier actually. But so we're almost there actually, because we found the successful case of the Web 3 element to the Web 2 game. That the in-game marketplace increased the ARPU, so we don't need token to that for that game. So Web 2 user onboarding is almost there. Then also for emerging markets, we succeeded to onboard tons of users from emerging market. The next challenge is make them to pay a little bit, make a micropayment. So we are almost there. But the problem is, we are still not sure. We really need a token. NFT is also enough. Yeah, but the token price make the game title not sustainable. Not sustainable. Yeah, that's the final challenge actually. But we are almost there. Yeah, the mass adoption of the Web3 game is over. I think that's gonna come next year. Yeah, because we are almost found the successful model.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you probably won't come across many people who have more experience in crypto Web3 gaming than Ryo. This actually got me a lot more excited about next year. It sounds like we're going to have some of the most major game launches to date, and those equate to onboarding mechanisms. Again, Oasys, I think, has been a shining star in the world of gaming. The message has been limited, I think, in scope to the Japanese market, and now Ryo and his team are finally out discussing this for the rest of the world now that we've gotten to a point of progress that kind of is tough to keep secret. So with that, we'll wrap it up here, and if anyone would like to talk to Ryo about Oasys and gaming, feel free to grab him at the end of the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much.